Yes, thank you. We want to respect everyone's time who was able to come now, and we will record this meeting so that people can look back and see our special topics from month to month. I'd like to start this evening by introducing our new city manager, Mr. Kenny Young. And I'll let City Manager Young share whatever he wishes to with the group. And we're happy to have him join us tonight and take interest in this program. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Young.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Excited to be here with the city, and I've been here about, I think it's my third week with the city, and really excited to get going and work with the citizens of College Park and learn a lot about what's going on here and just continue to make this a great city. So look forward to meeting each one of you very soon. Thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. As usual, we'll start the meeting with Major Coletti to review last month's crime statistics and show you on our crime maps where things have been happening. And we'll turn it over. Sharon can bring up the maps. And Major Coletti, it's all yours.
Sure. Thank you, Bob. Good evening, everyone. I'll start off, and we'll start with some of the most serious crimes that we had in the city. Unfortunately, we had 2 citizen robberies that were reported in September. If we compare that to August, we had 0, so we're up by 100%, or basically 200%. The robberies are not linked to, they're not linked, or they don't share any characteristics. They're not linked to one another. So there's 2 different citizen robberies. I believe one was in the Old Town area, and the second one was up towards Berlin. We had 1 reported carjacking for the month of September. If you look in July, we also had 1 in July also. We had 2 reports of assaults. In August, we had 4. We had no commercial burglaries, so that's a good thing. We had only 1 residential burglary for the month of September compared to 2 in August. What's trending up countywide, it's just not the county, it's in the DC metropolitan area, and I believe most major cities are having a problem with this. We've had 4 reported theft from autos for the month of September, and if you look at August, our trend was at 14. The theft from autos, there's nothing common about them. They're spread out throughout the city, and I'll give you some numbers just for Division 1 or Hyattsville Station. I'll give you some numbers later to show you how big of a problem this is. We had 10 reported thefts. Last month we had 13. And stolen autos, we had 8 reported stolen autos in the city in September, and in August we had 8 also. If you look at theft for autos for Division 1, which is our Hyattsville district, if you look at Adams sector would be everything along the Baltimore Avenue corridor going towards Montgomery County, going towards Langley Park. If you look at theft from autos, we've had 488 for the year, and we've had 220 stolen vehicles in Adams sector. Now, if you look at Baker sector will be just the opposite side of Baltimore Avenue, going towards, let's say, Landover Hills, New Carrollton. We've had 338 reports of theft from autos and 163 stolen vehicles. So you look at Division 1 as a whole. So far this year, we've seen 826 theft from autos and 383 stolen vehicles. I'll bring up the stats real quickly for what a lot of people are concerned about our traffic stops relating to vehicles with modified exhausts. So we started keeping track of this on April 19th. So far, we have issued 131 citations, 49 warnings, and 56 safety equipment repair orders for vehicles violating the modified exhaust law. So with everybody that's online now, what I would like to do is, please tell your friends, tell your family members. This region, we're seeing a big increase in theft from autos. I can't believe how many people leave their vehicles unlocked. I can't still believe how many people leave a laptop computer, a cell phone, or a purse in plain view in the vehicles. The suspects are getting bold. They'll smash out a window, reach inside, grab whatever the item is, and then they'll take off. It takes less than a minute to do it, but it is a regional problem. It's not just unique to College Park. It's not just unique to Prince George's County. This is a regional problem. So let all your friends, family members, make them aware of this so that we can try to stop some of these crimes. And Bob, if it's okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Corporal Lobbin. I see that he's online. See that if he has any words of wisdom for us.
Yes. Hey, good evening. I'm Corporal Logan. I'm the Northern College Park Community Relations Officer. And just like Major Coletti stated, we are seeing the trend of theft from autos all through the DMV, but we would clearly employ people to make sure that you lock your vehicles, remove any items out of sight that would possibly be of value. If you have a trunk, lock your laptop in it, put your purse in it, put your coat. If you have a cup holder with change, we would employ you to remove these items. You guys have to remember, most thefts are crimes of opportunity. And if an individual sees anything inside a vehicle, he will be tempted. So you have to remember, a lot of these things are treasure hunts. People will break in your car. Sometimes they do find something that's really good. But if they can't see anything from the outside, there's probably going to be a high percentage that he'll just go on and move on to another vehicle that has items left out. And if you guys see anything, we definitely would urge you guys to, say something. If you are up in the middle of the night, you happen to see some individuals that that do not reside in your neighborhood, just give us a call, let the professionals come out and, let us figure out what's going on. If you see your neighbor not locking their doors, just remind them, hey, you need to lock your doors, remove your items. We do offer a free home security survey. It's where we take a pragmatic approach of trying to harden your target, which is sometimes we'll tell you to trim down your bushes, maybe add a little lighting, do some things, maybe replace some doors. We'll take approaches like that. We won't tell you to do anything crazy like build a moat around your home and get a fire-breathing dragon to secure your home. So if you use a lot of common sense approaches, we can kind of harden our target. I know we have a lot of issues with theft, breaking and enterings in Old Town, but the reason that is because a lot of the college students, as much as we preach to them, they're unreluctant to lock their doors to their dormitory or even at the high-rise apartments. We could take a tour right now and we could go through there, and I guarantee you 90% of the doors to those buildings are unsecure. And we've preached and we've told the students to lock it up, but a lot of them say that they're told that College Park's a safe place, which theoretically it is, but like we employ them, you still need to lock the doors to make it harder for individuals to take things, and they leave the doors unlocked, and individuals will just go from room to room, turning knobs until they're able to go in and take whatever they want.
Hey, thank you. But hey, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You and your fellow squad mates are doing an excellent job with all the different community events at Hyattsville Division. Could you just briefly discuss about the work you guys are doing at the church right off of Rhode Island Avenue, the handing out the food? Can you just
Yes,
let people
unfortunately, I
understand
was
what's going
out
on there?
of town for that event, the Faith in Blue. So I don't really have all of the particular details, but my unit has definitely worked very diligently with the community, with Shot with a Cop. We have a trunk or treat that's coming up October the 30th between not really sure of the hours. I believe it's 6:30 and 8 o'clock. So we would definitely implore you guys to come through. It's going to be a drive-through. You can just come through, grab a few, items. We would love to see a lot of the constituents in the community. And I'm pretty sure Ms. Lugo and some of the other, they've attended and they've helped out. We've done a lot of great things with Shot with a Cop. That'll be coming up in Christmas time. I'm not really sure the exact date, but it'll be normally, historically, we would go to an elementary school inside Division I and have the school hand select a few students, their neediest kids, and we would give them an opportunity to go shopping. So Walmart would provide us with gift cards, and we would take the kids and then on a shopping experience. And in the end, most officers really felt that that was the most euphoric feeling of their career, being able to interact with the kids and give back to the kids and just have a great time with the kids. We would then take them to Three Brothers in Kenilworth, and we would provide them with pizza and drinks, and we would have Santa Claus and Mrs. Santa Claus come out, and we'd play some Christmas music, sing some songs with them, and then transport the kids back to school. So those are just some of the programs that we're running inside Division I. I'm also the advisor of an Explorer program, and we're also looking for kids between the ages of 14 and 20. It's a program where if kids are interested in a career in law enforcement, but also we also believe in giving the kids career guidance in it. So we've taught the kids how to bring some individuals in from the banking institute to teach them about finance. We've had professors come in, teach the kids about resume writing. We've also reached out to other professionals inside the community that have been able to come out, teach the kids a little bit about cooking. We're going to set them up and take them on a college tour. So these are some of the things and programs we have inside the Explorer. It's not all about being a police officer. So I'd say about 60% of the kids actually do not want to pursue a career in law enforcement, but they do have a euphoria and a feeling and a sense of wealth. And we've been able to make great strides with some of these kids that they were doing, good in school, but when they got into a program that they really felt that someone was really interested and invested in them, we've seen them turn into whole different kids where now they're really striding for the stars, and they're really making scholastic scholars, and some of them have gone on to go to college, and some of them do come back and help us with the program. So it's been a really successful program. When I was given opportunity, I really didn't know what I was getting into, but having to be with these kids for the last 5 years, I think that's one of my greatest loves, of being able to spend time with these kids, and you're watching these kids grow up. And I think even as a police officer, being on 18 years, sometimes when you see a kid that maybe you met in Paint Branch years ago, a career day, and then he's a grown man now, and now he's contacting you on Facebook or Instagram saying hi, and telling you he's in college, and he's doing pretty good for itself. So that was one of the things that make you really say, man, I was inspirational in being around these young men and women of the community that have been able to give back to our squad and myself so much. I really realized that I'm glad that these kids are on the right side of the law instead of being on the wrong side.
Well, good. I appreciate that. I appreciate that update. Councilman Kapar, I see you have your hand up.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, thank you for everything you do to keep us safe, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that. So my question is about a new kind of, or new type of crime that probably is not related to what the residents can actually do, like ideas and suggestions you have been giving us, like locking the doors, car doors, and to keep things safe inside the cars.
Mhm.
Residents can't actually do anything. So what actually happened, and I think I copied some of you, an incident which didn't come this month's, actually last month's crime report in September, because it happened last Thursday night in the middle of the night on Niagara Road. Someone came
the
and
vehicle's tires.
yeah, they took out
Yeah.
all 4 tires from a Honda Civic, brand new tires. There's a new car. I actually went there and saw myself. And the problem the owner and the nearby neighbors had, they're frustrated what to do. I mean, they did everything. They probably had the car alarm, the doors were probably locked. The car doors are probably locked, and they couldn't do anything. And most likely the 4 guys came, and no one actually heard anything, like the drill machine they used to take out the cars. So it looks like a bunch of guys came and used took the tires out manually. And what kind of advice do you have for our residents?
Oh, that's a tough one. I know you can go to some rim stores and you can get what they call rim locks, and those are locks that you can put on your rims to deter someone from stealing your rim. But I don't think it's a foolproof way of keeping someone from stealing your rims. It will slow them down, but I guess if these individuals are determined and they're motivated, I don't think there's nothing in the world that'll stop them. If you have a garage, try to park your vehicle inside a garage. I know in College Park that's virtually impossible because not that many homes have garages. So they could invest in maybe wheel locks. You can invest in an alarm system. And I do know that we have had some issues with the Honda vehicles with the airbags being stolen. I know I had a Detective Flax, and he came to our coffee club, and he's from the regional auto theft task force. And they were talking about they had an individual up in Beltsville that they had caught, and he had a whole bunch of airbags. Now, what you're taking the airbags for, I'm not really sure. And I'm not really sure how you resell the airbags on the black market, but they said that it was a huge operation. And I remember him saying there was a guy up in Waldorf, he was stealing a bunch of Dodge Hellcats, the rims and the tires, and then I guess they were selling them, and they were able to make an apprehension on some guys. But the only problem is because rims don't have serial numbers, I think that was the only part about really returning them back to the individual, unless that guy is like, yeah, I definitely know which car they came off of. But when you stole so many of them, it may be virtually impossible to return them. So, I know I've spoken to several investigators. We have a police warehouse, a 1 million square foot warehouse, and it's full of merchandise. Now, the problem is when things are recovered, we're unable to return it because most individuals don't have serial numbers. And let's take an example. Someone steals your MacBook. It's gray in color. An individual takes it, he has it, he scuffs it up, dirties it all up, and we call you and we say, hey, Mr. Fazul, Dr. Fazul, we have a laptop. And you come down, you look at it, you're like, that doesn't look like my laptop. And that's the biggest problem with returning a lot of stolen items back to the individual if you didn't have your initial serial number, because once they damage it and scratch it all up, it doesn't even look like the original product that you had. But I know that a couple of years ago, the county had made a push to invest in this technology called smart water. I'm not really sure if we're still participating. And what it was a bottle that was maybe about 3 ounces. And they said it had like a DNA swab, a computer generated, and you just put a spot of it on your item. If an officer had a blue light, he puts it on this item. If it glowed, we were supposed to recover it, send it to Smart Water. They had your DNA patent on file, and then they would send you a letter saying, hey, Dr. Kabir, they recovered this item that is allegedly belongs to you. So that was how it was explained to us that it was supposed to work. But again, I know we had talked about it several years ago in the department under Chief Stawinski, but I'm not really sure if they decided to back out of that partnership or if that company still even participates in that type of technology. Did you know
Thank
anything
you.
about it, Major Coletti?
Yeah, so the smart water thing, I'm not sure if we're still using that technology. It's rather pretty expensive for people to go out and participate with it. We don't give it out free. You have to actually purchase it. But let me go back to some of the prevention tips people can do to prevent their vehicle tires, their rims being stolen. The aftermarket for vehicle rims is exploding. This is what they're stealing. They're not stealing stock tires. They're stealing the aftermarket tires, the ones that people spend several $1,000s on. So here's a couple things we can do. And Corporal Lobman spoke of one. You can put lug nut bolts on your, lug nut bolts on your tires, right? I think they cost right around about $100 for a set of 4. You put them on each tire, and you got to have a key to be able to get the lug nut off. So that's one thing you can do. Second is you can install a alarm on your vehicle, but most importantly, you have to have a sensor on it. So if the vehicle starts moving around, that will set the alarm off. So if somebody starts jacking up that vehicle, that's going to set the alarm off. Another thing you can do is, this is common sense and many people don't do it. You have to park in a well-lighted area, all right? If you have one of these vehicles and you spend $3,000, $4,000 on your rims, you have to park in a well-lit area. Something else is, it's very easy to do. Turn your wheels after you park. You want to turn your wheels at a 45 angle, all right? So what that does is when they're trying to steal your rims and they want to get into with a wrench to take the nuts off the rims, it makes it difficult for them because your fender is somewhat in the way. So you want to turn your rims to a 45-degree angle. Something else you can do, you can park as close as possible to the curb. Put your tires right on the curb. That makes it very difficult for them to get those tires off that vehicle. All right. So here's a couple things that we can do. Most importantly, if you see suspicious people, and I preach about this every meeting, call 911. Please don't send Bob an email 2 days later saying that you saw somebody suspicious. I just got another email tonight regarding this. You have to use 911. So there's just some of the tips that we can do to help prevent somebody from stealing our rims. And I'll look around. I think Carol, Sir Council Member, any follow-up questions to that, sir?
No, thank you. This is very helpful. If you could please send an email with the tips, we could send around in the neighborhood. We have a listserv, and also the next door probably we can share with the people. I didn't know. These are very, very helpful tips. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Carol, you have your hand up?
Yes, I have 2 questions or 2 comments, but the first one's a question for Corporal Open. You mentioned something about I guess a trunk tree event. Where? You forgot to tell us where.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Carol. It's gonna be. Give me 1 minute to look the exact email up, and then I'll give it to you guys. So I don't want to give you guys any bad
and make
information.
sure, and make sure that you let us know when, the time frame.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're
Okay.
still in the process of gathering donations and building our candy base before we, I guess, start launching it. And I know Sergeant Chopler, he's participating in the police unity ride. So I think he's in New Jersey right now riding down. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to watch him. I think he rode somewhat like 1,000 miles, and they're gonna ride from New Jersey all the way to Washington, DC, the capital. So it's a pretty awesome event. But I'll definitely get that information to you. And we'll also send it out on our list server, Facebook, Instagram, and next door to everybody. And you're all welcome to come out. It'll be a really great event. It'll be great to see everybody from College Park and, everybody from the community.
Okay, my other question is not really a question, but a comment. you're talking about these log nut lock things that you can buy. I just recently last year had to get a new vehicle. I was given a specific tool to take a tire off if I have a flat or some reason. So this is right from the manufacturer. The manufacturer's a Honda. I don't know if any of the what the other manufacturers are doing, but evidently the word is getting out to the manufacturers, and they're actually offering it as standard. This was standard on the car that I got. It was not an additional thing that I had to ask for.
So Carol, let me ask you a question. Where do you keep that, that, I'm gonna call it a key to your lug nut locks? Where do you keep that at?
I have to keep it in my glove compartment box, but I have so many other things on there that it'd be hard for them to find it.
Well, I would be willing to bet they would find it. So you may want to think about putting it somewhere else where it's not so convenient for them to locate it, whether you lock it up in the trunk, in a box, maybe in the trunk. Put it maybe underneath the seat, put it in a box underneath the seat. Just a suggestion. Trust me.
Okay,
First thing people do is they go right to the glove box.
okay, that is fine. Given that, I know that you've been talking about in the past that if you have a handicap parking thing that you can hang on your mirror, well, not to keep it on there when you're not using the vehicle like parked in front of my house. Where would you suggest keeping that? I've been keeping it in my glove compartment in part, stuck into the manual that came with the cars, because I don't want to, have to go run it, you're rooting through the glove compartment to find out where it is. Is that
Yep.
something also that I should be put, because that's another thing that's people want to steal.
So I would leave that in your glove box. When
Okay.
people say they want you to take it so it's not visible, that's the only thing. If they're not going to break in your car, if they see the handicap placard, they'll break in your car to take it so they can sell it on the market. All right. Put it in the glove box. It takes it out of view. Nobody knows you have it. So by all means, put it in your glove box and take it out at a site. Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, because I do know that's another thing that sometimes we're lazy. We just say, oh, I don't want to bother keep putting that placard out every time I'm parking in a handicap space. But people need to be aware that that's also in the category of leaving your cell phone, your laptop, anything of value, anything of use out in plain sight, unless you're parked in a handicapped place where you have to have the placard displayed.
Okay. Thank you. Bob, does anybody, I can't see everything. Does anybody have any other questions?
I don't see anything in the chat right now, but if anyone has additional questions for Major Coletti, Corporal Logan, please put them in the chat and we will definitely follow up with you. And so at this time, I think we should move into our special topic. And so I'd like to have the personal pleasure this month of introducing our speaker, Ms. Teresa Ann Chrisman, who has had a long employment with Prince George's County Fire and EMS in their public information and public education group. And she is now the spokesperson for the Maryland State Fire Marshal's Office. And Teresa has volunteered through the years with the Maryland State Firemen's Association Fire Prevention Committee, among other volunteer work. Teresa, you can let people know some of your experience that I've probably forgotten, but Teresa Chrisman is well known throughout the state of Maryland and recognized as a fire safety expert and a public educator. And so we're going to turn the program over to Teresa, but I should give a plug for our door prize this month. We have a combination smoke and CO alarm. And I think Teresa may have some quiz questions. So if you get the answers right, we'll put your name in the electronic hat and pick some winners. And we will be giving away some of these tonight. Very important. We will even have a code enforcement officer, combination code enforcement officer, fire inspector come and install it in your home if you wish. So that's our door prize this month. And I'm going to turn the program over to Teresa. Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Teresa.
No, thank you, sir. I've known Bob for a really long time. And just a background of my family, my dad in 1962 joined the College Park Fire Department as a student to the University of Maryland. And my mom was a member there. They both have over 60 years of service to College Park, Greenbelt, and my father was chief of Greenbelt. And my brother Jermichael just retired from the fire department with 31 years. So we have a lot of huge public safety parts of my family. But my passion, as I would say, is the teacher, I would say, is the fire prevention teacher for this county. And it's a big honor for me to be able to be moving towards the state fire marshal's office. I'm very excited for that move. I actually have started already, but my last day with the county is on November 5th. So I'm back and forth between Pikesville and here in Largo. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so I can go into my presentation. There's some things that I want to show you guys and just a little history about fire prevention, because last week was fire prevention month or week. And then, we really celebrate fire prevention technically every day. I'm just going to share my screen. The first thing I want to show you is a video from the Close Before You Doze. And that's something that I think is really important for everybody to see. So let me play that real quick for you. And this is through the Underwriters Laboratory Fire Safety Program. Can everybody see that?
Yes, but we don't hear.
Teresa, you have to select share sound on
Okay.
Zoom.
Let me pull that up. It's not working. What did I do wrong?
You see, it should say share computer sound under
There you
your
go. Can
options.
you see it?
Zoom.
Can you hear it?
No, we don't hear it yet. No sound yet, Teresa.
Say it again.
No sound.
Oh, okay. Let me try something real quick. I'm playing it on my end. I don't know why it's not going very well.
You got to go up to your where it says share content and
Uh-huh.
say and select share computer sound. It's kind of far down on the list. You see it?
Share sound. Does that work?
There you go. Yep, that's it.
Okay. Sorry about that. New to this
Yeah, I'm
part.
not too concerned. I probably don't think about a fire threat as much as I should, because I do forget to turn things off often.
Have you ever been through one?
A fire? No.
We told you that you'd be coming here today for discussion, but what we didn't tell you is that there is also a demonstration that we want to show you. Sound good? I want to introduce you to Steve, the director of the UL Firefighter Safety Research Institute. I'll let Steve take it away.
Welcome. My job is to lead a team of people that study how fire grows and spreads so we can keep you safe. Here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center, we essentially turn this place into a laboratory. We've got several structures around here that we build to simulate where you live. And one of those structures is right here behind me. What I want you to do is I want to take you inside here, and I want you to see how this looks like your home. And then once we get you outside, we're going to go ahead and recreate what would happen if there was a fire in this structure right here. Look pretty normal? Yeah, got some furnishings. You'll notice the difference down here as we walk down. This bedroom door will be closed, and the one at the end of the hall will be open. And what I want you to do is pay attention to comparison to the two of those and think about you and your family trying to survive this fire. All right, we just hit the button. We have ignition.
Oh boy, there she goes. Oh man, that is scary.
It's scary, right?
Bang.
Look, we have smoke coming out over here already.
Smoke's coming out.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the furnishings that are in our homes today are made of synthetic materials. So they burn so much faster than your old natural cotton-filled furnishings used to be. The statistics that we've seen through our research is in about 40 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to get out of your house after the smoke alarm sounded. Now you have less than 3 minutes.
Holy crap. See, this is the things that we were. Whoa. Can you feel that?
How can you survive that?
Seriously, that is insane.
All right, go ahead, knock it down. All right, as you remember, closed door on the left, open door on the right. And you can see the dramatic difference between the two with the simple closed door.
Impressive.
We want people to be as prepared as possible and understand the importance and how little time you have and what that simple barrier can provide to you and your family should you have a fire. I want you guys to throw some hard hats on and some safety glasses and at least poke your heads in the windows, or you can even walk in the hallway if you want.
Give me a word or phrase to describe what you just saw.
Anxiety.
Frightening.
Terrifying.
I really didn't expect anything like this.
I'll ask you one last time. In the event of a fire, are you safer sleeping with the doors open or the doors closed?
Without a doubt, the door closed.
Definitely with the doors closed, and from now on, the doors will be shut at night.
Definitely closed.
Closed.
Definitely closed. And I'm surprised by it.
It's always great to be able to get the message out when we can take our research and get it out into the community to change behavior with the message of close before you doze. It feels great, and hopefully we can save lives.
If there was one bit of advice that you could give friends or family today, what would it be?
Close before you doze.
Close before you doze.
Close before you doze. Close before you doze.
Close before you doze.
The key fire safety messages we want people to have are, one, have working smoke alarms in every level of your home, inside and outside every sleeping room. We want everybody to have an escape plan. Should you have a fire, you should know how to get out quickly. And if you can't get out quickly, having a closed door between you and where that fire is critical to your survival.
So let me get out of this real quick and go to my PowerPoint for you guys.
So Teresa, while you're changing scenes, just a comment that Steve Carber, the star of that series now and the director of UL's Fire Safety Center, is a University of Maryland graduate and served with the College Park Volunteer Fire Department while he was here as a student.
I was going to say that's very fitting that I wanted to bring that up because I've known him for a really long time, and seeing what they've done for the fire service and for the public as a whole. Close Before You Doze came out of a program out of Tennessee, and that was something that they were able to capture and move forward for everybody. So that's why I like to show that program. It just gives you an eye-opening feeling like having that door closed does really make a big difference for the fire spread and the smoke that comes into your homes, because it really isn't the fire that's going to kill you to succumb to those injuries or any type of injury that you receive. It's really a smoke related issues because it's going to choke you. And that's why we have our message for that is close before you doze. So the beginning, just to give you some background about this presentation, I'm going to not speed through it, but there's some things that I will talk about a little bit, but I want to give you a history lesson about fire prevention and why we have fire prevention and how it all started. So the Great Chicago Fire happened on Sunday, October 8th. And in that time frame, there were 3 gentlemen in the O'Leary's barn, and they were stealing milk and they were gambling. And to cover up their crimes, they actually set the barn on fire. And they used the cow kicking over a lantern and started that fire. But actually, it was created by a gentleman by the name of Michael O'Hearn. And he had owned a paper called the Chicago Republican, and he was not getting very big readership. And these guys had confessed to him. And so the O'Learys really thought that their cow had actually started the Great Chicago Fire. And the problem with also in that sense, there was a bad windstorm going on at that same time. Going through the research that I did, I looked into this in a sense of a Mythbuster type setup. But there were 3 other major fires that occurred that same weekend because of this windstorm. And because Chicago had more of a populace, more people living there, the buildings and everything, and the destruction, that really got the highlight of, at that time, the newspapers and how the information getting out there. Because it was a port town and there's a lot of stuff going on. They didn't really push out the other 3 fires. And that was more of like large brush fires that had occurred, wildland firefighting as they were dealing with. So for 3 days, the fire burned. And at that time, it stopped at the Chicago Water Tower because that was the only brick building in Chicago at the time. Everything else was a wooden structure. So going forward at that time frame, they used to have parades and celebrations and carnivals just to talk about that. Well, under President Truman, he actually brought every governor and a couple of school teachers and educators to Washington, D.C. and said, look, we need to do something better. We need to ensure that we're doing education, because at that time they were looking at 30 to 40,000 people a year in home fires dying. So he said, enough is enough, and this is what's going to happen. So it was called the Truman Papers. It's 609 pages long, and it breaks down in every aspect of how the fire service is to deal with prevention and life safety code, and working out the differences. This year, Fire Prevention Week celebrated its 99th year. So this year's message was the sounds of fire safety, and it's all in the aspect of what we learned from COVID during that aspect of fire prevention. Last year, when schools had to close and students were at home, we would address students via Zoom just like this and being able to talk to them about fire prevention. Well, a lot of the fire service heard the same thing. We heard the chirping sounds of the smoke alarm in the background. So we got permission with the school board to actually go in and install smoke alarms when we heard a chirping sound. We actually asked the teachers got with us, and then we were able to get permission, because at that time frame we weren't allowed to do anything. So that sparked this year's message. And that was important for us because one of the other things that we had a big concern about was kitchen fires. Last year's message was on kitchen fire safety. And this year's message is again on smoke alarms and CO alarms, and knowing what the sounds are at the very, very end. So we know that a fire is fast, hot, dark, and deadly. And we know that if you saw that video, it shows you how fast the fire will spread, because we know the components that we have in our houses now are not of legacy furniture. It's not of the standardized cotton-based fillers and cotton-based materials. We're dealing with a lot more synthetics, the plastics, and that burns at a higher temperature. It smoke points and it melts. So that's an issue that we're having now. And that's why we need everybody to understand having that door closed, having that ability to get to a location in a safe manner, and having an exit plan and all those little nuances you need to have an effective way to get out of your home. So let's go ahead and test some people's knowledge, okay? I got 4 questions that I'm going to ask everybody, and we're going to look at this. So what is the first question is, what's percentage of households have actually developed and practiced a home fire escape plan to ensure that they could escape quickly and safely? A is 50%, B is 30%, C is 23%, and D is 75%. What do you guys think it is? Anybody? Ready for this?
23%.
It is 23% of the US households still have not, have actually developed. So we have a lot of work there, and that's what we're trying to do with this. The next one is more than half of the homes' fire deaths resulted from incidents reported between the hours of A, 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., B, 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., and C, 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., and D, 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. What do you guys think?
I think it's D, 1 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Carol, anybody else? You're a little close, Carol. It's actually 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's the time of our sleeping hours. The next question is, in a fire, you have a little of 2 minutes to escape. However, a recent poll showed 3/4 of Americans think they have less than 4 minutes, less than 6 minutes, less than 8 minutes, or less than 10 minutes before the fire can turn deadly. What do you guys think? Anybody? I'll give you that one too. So that one is actually less than 10 minutes. Again, we're dealing with the synthetics. So we used to have maybe 10 to 20 minutes to get out of a house fire. We don't have that anymore. We really do have less time than that. We have the 2-minute mark. And that's because we're dealing with so many different things in the homes now. And the last one is, there are 3 basic ingredients needed to start a fire. A is gasoline, matches, and wood chips. B is a source of ignition, oxygen and fuel. And C is hydrogen, oxygen, and flame. What does anybody think?
B.
B? Yep. It is the source of ignition, oxygen, and fuel. Very good. So in 2019, we don't have the 2020 facts yet, but we have to think in 3,704 Americans died in home fires in the last year. I do know that Maryland, we had our lowest fire deaths. We were at 52 last year for the state of Maryland. That's a very good, we work very hard throughout our whole state to ensure that everybody gets these messages, and we try to do our very best. We've had a couple where we actually have to count when an automobile accident happens and fire is a result that the person might have succumbed to. They could have had injuries from the fire or the car accident, but if they have smoke inhalation and they perish from that, we then have to count that as a fire fatality. This county saw a large amount of fire fatalities related to vehicle accidents last year because people were driving very erratic. I guess Major Coletti could say the same thing, and the officer also, that we did see an uptick in those type of things. So our numbers were high last year. We were at 16, but of those 16, 7 were related to home fires. Everything else was related to a vehicle accident. And then last we wanted to do is making our homes as fire safe as possible. So I have some things. First off, I always ask everybody to have an exit drill in the home. We've all learned Edith growing up. We still use Edith today because it's a very easy way to prepare a home and having the 2 ways out when something occurs. And then we think that roughly, as we know, 2/3 of home fire deaths result from fires without working smoke alarms. So I think it's great that you guys are able to have that opportunity to have a carbon and smoke alarm coming to you. I think that's a great thing that the city's allowed to happen. But I want to give you another history about how smoke alarms came about. Francis Upton actually created the first electronic alarm, and then Andrew Darby actually did the electrical heat detector and smoke detector. For a long time, they were very expensive at that time frame, so really nobody really had them other than they were in commercial buildings and establishments. So in the late 60s, early 70s, probably much more the late 60s, the Sears and Roebuck company actually bought the patent for the smoke alarms, and you could actually go into a Sears catalog and buy a smoke alarm. So my dad used to go to fire department conferences, chiefs meetings all the time. And one year, like, he would bring us something home when we were little, and there's 5 of us. So he brought us all a smoke alarm that time. And they were $68 a piece. And we all had a place in the house, so we got to put our smoke alarm. And I put mine in the basement because that's where our dog liked to sleep. And that's where I got to put mine. But our technology has changed so much. Next year, we're going to be adapting a new technology for smoke alarms, and that is actually with the integration of both the ionization and the photoelectric. So there are 2 types, the ionization and then the photoelectric. And one is going to pick up that air chamber and that it permits through the sensor. And the other one is going to be, it gets that heat. So with this, the new program that's coming out, but all the manufacturers are going to have to meet it. They'll have to have both series of sensors in there. So moving forward, we only in this state, on the county, really only deal with 2 manufacturers, Kidde and First Alert. There are other manufacturers out there, but in our safety realm, our county, we pretty much want to stay with those 2. There are newer technology for the smart detectors, as they're called, and we do allow that through the state code. I like some of those, especially the Nest and a couple of the other ones that are out there. It actually, like, it links to your phone, which is the craziest thing, because your smoke alarm can tell you when you have a problem. You know, that's a great thing. We had a fire a couple of years ago in the county in the Bowie section, and a gentleman got an alert from his smoke alarm sent an alert to his phone saying, hey, you have a fire in your attic. And he was about an hour away. He called 911, explained everything. And when we got there, the attic was actually on fire. And we were able to contain the fire to that specific location, which saved his house. But not having that alert on his phone, it would have been a bigger problem. So we are addressing those type of smart meters, type smartphones, smart alarms, because the advancements are there, and we really, really like them. We do now even work with a company out of Texas that is going to be, they've produced them. They're actually smoke alarms for hearing impaired, deaf and hard of hearing, and visually impaired residents. You would go to fabscom.com, sign up, and that alarm, which is unique to this area, which I think is great that we can do this now, is being able to give someone the ability to have a carbon monoxide alarm. We've never been able to do that, and this company has created this program for us. And it's a great tool. The state of Maryland has accepted this smoke alarm. The fire marshal has given it blessing. And it's a great option that we're able to help someone. So going forward for those residents, you'll be able to have, depending on if you have a gas product in your home or you have an electrical aspect of your home, all electric, you would get a carbon monoxide alarm for your gas. And then the electric, you don't need it, because carbon monoxide, you're not going to have it unless you have a fireplace. So that tool's there. And then we were working with a company, what's called Knoxbox. We have them in our buildings. A lot of people, you'll go by a building, you'll see actually like a device on the wall. And that's where we hold keys to your building so we don't destroy stuff. And Knox has created a carbon monoxide alarm that actually is in a dual language. So it'll be English and Spanish. So we're working with them right now to bring that to the county. So we're doing a lot of advancements to the state and the county. So we'll look forward to that too. And then we always ask everybody to always have a plan to practice and prepare. You have to have the plan. You have to practice the plan, and you got to prepare your family members to ensure that they know all those things to do. And now that we're coming into the holiday season and we're going to have family and friends coming and staying over our house, we always ask that you talk about that to them also. You know, treat it as if you were like a hotel, and this is where we meet. This is where we want to meet. And we do this because we've had people, you know, come into a different situation. It's not their normal home or their normal condition, and they're not going to know what's going to happen. They don't know your home very well, the layout, and so they're going to have to practice that too. So that's something that you can talk about at your holidays. And then this is where I think is really important. You want to seek out those hidden hazards within your home. You want to look around and find every 6 months is the best time to do it. Time change in November 7th, I believe, is the time change, where you're going to be checking your smoke alarms, checking your carbon monoxide alarms. Look for those hidden hazards that, you know, you're going from summertime to the fall to the winter. There's some things that could have happened to your home during that course of the month, especially with the storms that we've been having lately. Gutters, the roofs, you know, you want to make sure everything's working properly. That's what that is. And then big thing that I want to go into this now is this is what we see in homes. And to tell you what this is, to set it up, this is actually a furnace. This is everything that's in front of a furnace. This is something that I had actually done a fire inspection for. And going in there, we had to remove all the stuff, all the product away from the furnace, because we really want our furnaces to have that 3-foot area of breathability. Just like you have all your other stuff, it needs to be placed somewhere special. And we had to remove all of this before I could sign off on their fire inspection, because it was for foster care. I didn't want to leave them and not have the ability to have the child placed. So we worked for about 2 hours, got rid of everything, threw stuff away, a lot of broken materials, but that is fire load. That could have caused, anything would have happened, because that's a gas-fed furnace. You know, behind it is the water heater. You need those areas so that they can breathe. And then this is what they look and should look like, you know, keeping it free and clear of all combustible materials. I do a little talk about generator safety, because I think everybody sees this. It's become very common for some of us to have one. Some people have the all house or all home generator, and then you have the portable ones. The portable ones still, just like everything else, you have to be at least 30 feet from the building. You don't want it to be below a window so that the carbon monoxide can go back into the house. So you want it in a secured area. Again, this is a problem that we've seen in other places. People are afraid that someone's going to steal their generator, so they bring it into their garage and they're not venting it properly, which is not, it even says it in the directions, do not put it in a garage area, because the carbon monoxide will come back into the home. So it's got to be in a well maintained area and just in a secured spot. Now that the time changes are happening in the winter time, is fall and winter coming, a lot of people don't really want to turn on their full heat to their homes. They'll get a space heater in a sense and put it in the room. We ask that you keep it at least a 3-foot clutter zone. Don't put anything on it. Don't dry your clothes. We had a devastating fire where we had 2 children and a mother die. They were trapped in their home because they had put wet clothing on a space heater and trying to dry it out, and it actually caught fire. And their way out was they were trapped because they couldn't get through the fire. What's unique about this is you see these metal rods, or the rods that are very, very hot. That's coming out now. They're not using them anymore. So what they've done is they've created newer space heaters. And what's unique about the space heater is there's a foot on the bottom. So when you pick it up, it turns it off. If it tips over, it turns it off. Some of these older ones don't have that option. And then they will, you know, if they knock over, they can set a fire. So this is something new. So I ask that, you know, you look at your appliances. If you have anything that is torn or one of the cords warped, you have something like if the wires are pigtailed, as I call it, like they make a circle automatically, that's something electronically has happened, electrically has happened to the cord, and that's damaged. So you might want to have that replaced and go to a newer space heater if you need to have one. And again, maintain that 3-foot safety zone. The other thing that we still see in the United States is candle fires. They say about 15,000 candle fires are reported annually, and which can lead to a lot of property destruction. So that's important to maintain a candle. Please read the directions on a candle. A lot of candles say you can only burn it for so long and then you have to put it out. You have some candles that burn for a lot of hours, and then others have others. I would also ask that, you know, you go to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. They do recalls, and if you see the recalls on candles, please return them to your location if you have any. Next is dryers and the vents. It's really important after every load and before every load, you've got to check the dryer vent, ensure that the lint is removed. That is the #1 thing that we see in the fire service across this country that starts home fires from dryers being, you know, they're not maintained very well. My brother's a police officer in the District of Columbia, and my cousin, who's a battalion chief over there, they saw each other one day, and there was a really bad apartment fire. And my brother asked my cousin, how did it start? And he said, it actually started from lint in the dryer. My brother does not do his laundry. His wife does his laundry. And he went home, and this is before he got married, and he was not checking his lint. So I can tell on my brother, because, you know, I have 5 brothers and sisters, so that I use them in my speeches. But it's really important to check the lint because he had a lot of lint built up. And the other thing that I ask is, if you have the traps going out to your house, they make the brushes that actually go into the system, and you can pull out the excess lint that might be built up in there. And we ask that you do that like every couple of months. That way, you know, it keeps that hazard down. Another thing that I like to talk about is extension cords. There's 2 styles here. The white ones are an interior cord. They can only be used in interior operation. And then the high yellow or high orange or high green colors that you might see in the stores, they're externally made for outdoor use. We've had a couple of fires in the county where they've been outside fires that have led to the home starting, especially Christmas decorations, and they've had all indoor extension cords used outside, and that has led water. They're not built to take the weather, and that created an electrical fire. So it's really important to always use the proper cord and what you're dealing with. And talked about that pigtail. It's hard for me to describe it, but sometimes if a surge goes through a cord, it'll actually like spiral itself, and you might not be able to undo that spiral. And that's because something's happened electrically to that cord. So I learned that by an electrician one day. He was showing us some things, and never knew that could happen, but because they were supposedly designed for that, but something had happened to the cord itself. So a surge protector was not adapted to it, and just something to just watch for, some, you know, just little things like that. And then the biggest thing we also see is overloading of the circuits. It's really important to think there's 13 devices plugged into this. 6, it's only supposed to have 6 cords, but it actually has 13 things plugged in with the adapters and stuff. That is going to cause, as we call it, electrical octopus. It's too much, and it's going to overload the circuit. So it's really important to keep the surge protector to the amount of actual devices. I do know that the University of Maryland and Bowie State University are very adamant about those type of things. And I do know that when you are a live-in at the Bowie State University, they actually give you a surge protector when you move in, and you are not allowed to add to that surge protector the adapters like this. They've taken that on their aspect because they had a little problem one time. They said that's it. So every dorm got one surge protector in there, and that's it. If you had to unplug something, you unplug something. You just couldn't add another surge protector. And they spot check, so it's really important to know that. And the other thing that we still talk about is Poison Control Center. I hope everybody knows this number. It's really important to have that on hand when something happens. Having that number there it's universal. So in the state of Maryland, there's 2 poison control centers. There's one at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, which handles all of the counties except Prince George's and Montgomery County. Ours, we call the National Capital Region. So in this area, you would call it reverts back. But across the country, everybody calls the same number, and just the telephone lines bounce off to wherever you're going to go. And then I also bring a little thing about this, oil and water, they don't mix. And this is just a very popular thing that's become very popular in the cooking culture is these deep fried turkeys. I use this slide as an example. They have everything set up properly. It's on a solid ground. The propane tank is away from the open flame. That's the allowed length that they have it. And then he's maintaining proper distance. We had a fire back in Sea Pleasant a couple of years ago where the gentleman had 8 deep fryers all lined up. He was in his backyard. He was cooking turkeys for the neighborhood, and he just got into where he was just cooking for a whole bunch of different people. Well, it started to rain, and because of that, he didn't have anything protecting the oil or the cooking aspect. They all flash fried, and it set his house on fire. So we ask that you maintain it and you watch it and you don't leave something like this unattended. And then I add a little bit about clutter. I mean, I think we all have things that we bring in, we put away, but we have to maintain that, it's a clutter for everybody. It's a problem. We just want to keep it in a clean sense, because what if something was to happen? What if you couldn't get out? That clutter is in your way, and we just want to have a free and clear way out. Plus, it's a problem for the fire service too. We have to be able to get in and be able to get to what we need to do. Then matches and lighters, keeping them away from the little hands. And carbon monoxide alarms. 2007, the state, 2007, Prince George's County enacted new codes for all new construction to add a carbon monoxide alarm. In 2012, the state of Maryland took the carbon monoxide alarm bill from Prince George's County and made it a state law. So that's important to have that. But remember, you only have a carbon monoxide alarm in a gas lead, fed buildings, your home. If you have gas in your home, you have carbon monoxide alarms, you need them. Because remember, carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't see it or anything, and the senses do not detect it. You get flu-like symptoms if you have the problem, and you need to call 911 immediately if you feel that way, if your alarm is going off. And then I do talk about a little bit about residential sprinkler systems. I want you guys to understand that this county has been the leader in residential sprinklers. 1982 is when Chief Estep started the process getting sprinklers mandated in the county. In 88 and 89, it passed county law, and then 1992, there was no more grandfathering. And then going forward, not once have we had a fire-related death in a residential sprinklered home. So we're very fortunate for that. We've had fires where it's resulted in 2 deaths in a residential sprinklered home, but they were not in a location where the sprinkler was. And they were not related to the fire. There was something that happened and they were found as a result. So our moving forward track is that no one has ever died in the sprinkler system, but I want you to know that you might, if you hear, yes, we've had 2 fires, fatalities, but they were not related to the fire. And these are the breakdowns of what the ratings are for the temperatures. There's just different things there. I just want to talk about, because sometimes people don't understand, like they watch a movie and like all the sprinklers go off. A sprinkler only goes off in that area where the fire is or where it's originated. Once the fire is out, it's there. There's several styles of sprinkler heads. This picture right here is actually a rear, like it's a side mount, so that you would actually come off the side of the wall. And then my favorite part of this is the top 10 kitchen hazards that we've seen. And this is where we can go through this. But number 1 is greasy ranges, hoods, and filters. Just want to always make sure that everybody always cleans up. After you've cooked, please wipe everything down, because if something was to flash and it goes up into it's catching on to whatever's there. And if there's grease there, that can just make the fire spread a little bit more. And then on cleaning supplies, I talk about this too, because cleaning supplies come in designed bottles for that very reason. A big thing people will take and put, like, they don't like the bottle that's come in, so they go and buy a decorative bottle. Well, that bottle's not met to that standard of that chemical within inside of it. So it'll actually, it could explode, it could melt, it could do different things. And it's really important to keep your cleaning solutions or any type of bottle that you have a chemical in. It has to stay in that bottle it's designed for. That's really important. And then overloading the circuit, 8 and 7 are pretty much the same thing. We see in 6 is an issue. There are top 3 issues of, everybody. This actually was underneath a desk. He had 3 surge protectors there, and he just kept on adding and adding. Plus he had the stuff at the top, and it's really important that that's going to create a big, huge electrical problem. And then we talk about the circuit breakers. Make sure that when you look at your circuit breaker, you can read what that circuit is going to be dealing with, and you don't want to write it in a pencil. You want to write it in a pen, or now they have you can get those little label makers, and you can label your stuff. So it's important to note what those denote. And then kitchen hazard appliances, just inspect them, make sure that the cords are working properly, that if you have anything frayed or open, or the wires are exposed, that could lead to a spark, or it could lead to a fire. So you want to get rid of that. And then one of the things we do see is kitchen clutter. Clean the dishes. I can tell you this came from a fire we had. And if you see in the bottom right corner, this tin foil area, a gentleman ran out of pots because everything was dirty. And he had poured oil in that foil, and he was going to try to cook with that on the stove. And he had actually flashed his stove. So that was a bad thing. And then microwave ovens, they need to be monitored just like you're doing with the stove. The number 1 issue with microwaves are burns, steam burns. It's very, very important to always ensure that, you keep it right. Don't put any metal in microwaves, because, that will spark. And you have to be really careful with the hot liquids and any type of thing. Always make sure you maintain a good solid surface with that, and then use oven mitts when you're removing things. And the next one is being children left unattended near the stove. It's really important. They're all inquisitive. If you watch some of these cooking shows, you've seen so many kids part of these different things. And the kids are inquisitive. They want to learn how to cook too. So it's just really important to keep them in a safe distance from the stove. Don't let them stay near the stove by themselves. Keep at least a 3-foot distance of safety around them. And because they're gonna help you start coming time for bacon. So everybody wants to help there. So it's just important for the burns and the aspects there. And then the number one is never leaving your cooking unattended. This was a fire from Laurel. I can tell you the gentleman got up, he gets off at work at 6 o'clock in the morning, came home and decided that he wanted to make French fries and hamburgers for breakfast. Well, to him, it was dinner time. So he went back to his bedroom after he was frying his food. And he just thought, okay, I'm just going to take my shoes off and I'll be okay. Well, he fell asleep on his bed. He awoke to his alarms going off, the smoke alarms, and then the kitchen was fully involved. So we just ask that you never leave any cooking unattended. You always stay at the stove when it's happening. And then last year, we know that 154,700 kitchen fires were resulted last year. And we just want to make sure that everybody just think about those things and keep the kitchen as safe as possible. It's a little talk about slip, trip, and falls. It's important to note that it is the leading cause of unintentional injuries to anyone, especially to older adults and to children. So it's important to keep anything on the steps loose, pick it up, look at your carpets. It's important just to maintain a safe environment. Like I was walking today, I thought I cleared a carpet and it actually tripped me up a little bit. So it happens to anybody. And then just falls account for 5.1 million injuries a year, nearly 66,000 deaths a year just through falls alone. And you don't, it could be anywhere, just walking through your home, identify and remedy those potential fall hazards. And then I'm just gonna go real quick through fire extinguisher training a little bit. Our motto is pull the aim, squeeze and sweep the base. Just how an extinguisher works. It's the aspect of the system is designed to get you out of the situation. It's not there to help you fight the fire. It's there to help you get, if your exit is blocked, that extinguisher is there to get you through or wherever you're handling. If you're on the cooking, you have a stove, you have that next to it, put it out, put the pot, the lid on the pot and get out. We don't want you to try to fight the fire with this. It's important to note that there's 5 classifications of extinguishers. Class A, B, and C are your all-purpose extinguisher. That's what you're going to get in your stores. You're not going to be able to get a D or a K in a store. But what you see mainly is that very the ABC combination type setup, which is going to be your ordinary combustibles, your flammables, and your electrical stuff. D's are mainly found in your laboratories, your chemical laboratories, and then K's are your commercial kitchens, the ones that you have in the different stores. And then P is to pull, means to pull the pin. There's a pin at the handle that allows the motion to start. And then you're going to be aiming at the base of the fire. You don't want to sway up and around. You just always want to be at the base of the fire. You're trying to take the oxygen away from that flame, and that puts that fire out. And then you're squeezing that handle together, and then you're sweeping the nozzle back and forth in a forward back motion. You don't want to be all over the place, but it's really important to note that, oxygen feeds the fire. Once you take that oxygen away, the fire is out and that depletes the triangle. So it's really important for that. And then we're going to go back into our questions real quick to see what everybody remembers. So for number 1, it was what percentage of the households have actually developed and practiced a home escape plan? Does anybody remember the answer? Mary Ann, do you remember?
25?
23. Yep, you're
23.
right. Close enough. 23%. Okay, and then what percentage of the home fire deaths resulted from incidents reported between what hours? Carol, do you remember this one?
Yeah, 11 and 7.
Yep,
A.
11. Yep, very good. And then in a fire, you 2 minutes to escape. Bob, do you remember this question? Bob even here still. Bob Ryan. Better know this question.
Oh, no. D10.
Yep, very good. And the last one is, there are 3 basic ingredients needed to start a fire. We have gasoline, matches, and wood. The source of ignition, oxygen, and fuel, and hydrogen, oxygen, and flame. Does anybody else want to try to do that one? Sharon, how about you, Sharon? Oh, okay, we'll just go more.
It was answered in the chat room.
Oh, okay, I'm not watching the chat right now. And then the very end is, don't forget your pets. This is my dog Pisser. My brother named this dog, not me. His real name is Brent, but this is how we find him every day. And I just always want to include our pets because they need fire safety too. So if you guys have any questions, I'm here for you guys. Bob knows how to get a hold of me. Bob, you figure out how to get those smoke alarms out to everybody. But again, I thank you all very, very much for allowing me this opportunity to talk and being able to share you with some fire prevention thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And if you would just, everyone who's on, send me your email. My email is bryan@collegeparkmd.gov. And I think we're going to add a couple of smoke alarm, CO alarm combinations so that everyone who attended can get one tonight.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And thank you all for attending, and please let your friends and neighbors know that they can view this presentation on the city webpage. It should be up in the next day or two. And so you can see the presentation there. And again, I want to thank Teresa. Wish her well in her new statewide job, taking the Prince George's message, statewide.
Thank you.
And thank you all for attending. And next month, our special presentation that we're hoping that we can do is meet the chief and invite the new police chief from Prince George's County to be our presenter next month in November. Again, the second Monday of the month. So we hope to see everyone then. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Corporal Loban. Thank you, Major Coletti. Sharon, thank you again for being the person behind the curtain and keeping this going. Good night, everyone.
Stop prize. Oh shit, this is over. Yeah, I think this went over and I am out of here, so I might just send it to Bob.